No, I'm not quite. No. Got it. I've got my wrong glasses. Hang on. No, they're worse. Hey, what's going on?
Welcome.
How was Wednesday meeting?
Wednesday? Our Wednesday? Oh, that meeting with you? The after hours, John?
Right.
It was everything.
Totally.
It was everything. I didn't think we were going to do tonight, actually.
You didn't think you'd do tonight? You weren't going to be...
No, I thought it was the wrap after that meeting. I thought that was the last meeting. Drop mic like it's done. So.
Well, that was the last meeting.
Yeah.
It's always the last meeting.
Yeah. I had a really strong physical reaction to it. You know.
Good.
What else is new?
Good. Put that one up, that episode up on the...
For
Everyone
sure.
should watch that.
Yeah, for sure.
It takes you right to the edge, right to the precipice.
Yeah.
Well, that's where you want to be. There's nothing happening. There's nothing happening when you step back from there. And once you've seen it, like, what else are you going to do?
That was everything.
Right.
Wow.
But really, there's nothing else. So let me just get my thing. I'm all over the place. I've got people in and out all day here, and tomorrow, and the next day. It's crazy.
So we were doing the lessons. Do you want us to keep going, or you wanna just jump right in?
No, that's okay. We'll just do stuff.
Okay. I just want to spotlight you.
Just doing breakfast. So I've been trying to do some koans.
I saw that.
Nobody gets my koans. I mean, nobody needs to get them but me. But I discovered that it's like any declaration. So you put anything up on Facebook or you say anything to anybody, it's immediately open to interpretation. Right? So what I say and what you hear me say, I have no clue what you're hearing. Right? So it could be anything. But in this energy where we're doing transformational stuff, you're always referencing the higher level. So we seem to find ourselves down here in this worldly sort of goop, and everything's on a horizontal plane. We're sort of looking around, cause and effect, react, attack and defend. That's the nature of the transient mind. But the eternal mind, the one that we're attempting to align with through utilizing Christ's vision, always requires an upper, like to take it up to the Holy Spirit, up to God, you know, like in a, not in a literal sense, but in a figurative sort of sense. Rather than trying to solve our problems out here, we're going directly to source to realize there are no problems. Okay, that's a process. That's whatever it is for each person. So when you put a declaration and everything up, it's like, I know perfectly well that my declaration is designed to, what would you call it? Rock the boat, right? There's no point in not rocking the boat. You can't keep people happy in this, right? Jesus came along and upset absolutely everyone around him, right? He had to keep going from town to town to town because he came along. He kept telling people, this is not your world. You don't belong here. Follow me, and making it reasonable why you would do that. But so when you put up a post, when you put up anything, you're not putting it up with the idea, or like I'm not, I'll keep it singular. I'm not putting it up there with the idea of challenging anyone particularly, but rather expressing the certainty of my mind through the forum into a darkness that must still exist somewhere back here, right? Because, hey, here we are, still here seemingly in the form, right? So when you make a declaration, like when we did our declarations class, like a few weeks back, right? So that was pretty powerful. Mm-hmm. And you have to maintain an integrity to that declaration you make. So if you suddenly stand up and you say, hey, I'm whatever, I'm a famous inventor or whatever, and I've invented something, you're going to have to uphold some kind of integrity to bring about an affinity with that idea, right? When you stand up and say, hey, I'm a child of God, you're going to have to be able to uphold some kind of integrity to, because you teach through example, right? So you uphold some kind of integrity to maintain an affinity with that idea as well. But what happens is, if there's any darkness or any falsity left in you, it's going to show up out there as the denial, right? And so when you do stuff on Facebook, which is really good because everyone loves to be a keyboard warrior, right? When you do stuff on Facebook and you put up a post, you always get people that will write back, and it's usually course students who are like halfway through the workbook or whatever, and they'll be like, oh, whatever, and they'll give you some kind of whole thing. And then there'll be other guys from different disciplines and all these sorts of different things, all having a say about something. And it's really cool because it's not like there's a someone or a something else out there having a say back. It's like, these are my thoughts being presented back to me, mirrored back to me, that I can now look at reasonably and see if they actually align with my declaration, right? Or whether they need healing in my mind. Okay. So sometimes people will comment on things and I just won't say anything. It's just so ridiculous. You know, they're just there for an argument or whatever. And I look at it in my own mind. I'm like, all right, there's my old argumentative mind. I'll just let that go because we have a higher purpose now. And then other times you'll get guys that are sort of like asking fairly critical questions, you know, and it's like, you want to be helpful. But when I was doing these koans, it's like trying to explain a koan to people, like you can't, you either get it or you don't, you know. So if you've ever been on any of those Zen websites, you know, like Zen koans for beginners, things like that, you know, or whatever. So trying to work them out, half of them you just sit there scratching your head and you go, I don't get it, I don't get it, I don't get it. Because the mind that's trying to get it obviously is the mind that's in denial and is never going to get it anyway. And it literally takes a miracle, right? It literally takes something to occur in the mind in order to be able to bring about an experiential reference point that is nothing to do with the way that we work things out in the linear patterning, right? From beginning to end in the world, right? So we're told through the course and through many spiritual teachings, let go and let God, right? Which is the simplest way I could put it, where you just sort of, I don't know how to solve this problem. I'll leave it up to God. And you don't write anything on the slate. You just leave it blank. So when you get to a certain point and you have one of those blank moments, right? It's an indication. It's a like, if you want to call it a holy instant or whatever, you can. It's an indication that you're on the right track. And when you have something go on in those moments that gives you an experience of something that's higher or non-temporal, you kind of have to teach from that, right? You can't teach from down here anymore because something in your mind has changed. You've experienced something that's higher than anything on offer down here, and your integrity naturally wants to rise up, right? And teach from there, because you teach what you need to learn. And as you teach that you are the Christ because you've had a Christ experience for a moment or a holy instant or whatever, as you teach that, your affinity with it becomes stronger, right? If you don't teach from it and if you don't express from it, if you just go back to your normal life, it'll become something that was just, oh, I had a light moment 20 years ago, or I had a light moment 10 years ago. And because you don't teach from it, you're not holding yourself accountable to it. Right? And it gets co-opted by the ego, and then it was just something from the past, right? It's up to you, right, or up to me to keep that alive, to keep that light burning, that lamp burning on the table, right? Jesus doesn't say, be still and know that I'm God, and then just go back to normal, whatever you were doing. He says, shout it from the rooftops, right? In the Bible, he literally says, what you hear in the ear, shout it from the rooftops. What happens to you, any experience you have, shout it from the rooftop. Represent it, right? Represent. So you have to represent this. And as even if you haven't yet had an experience, a non-temporal experience, and you're just going through the workbook and you're seeing the little shifts in the relationships and the way you think and everything like that, you represent it from that point. All right. So your highest point of awareness of yourself, whether it be conceptual or experiential, is where you represent this from, right? One of my teachers, Greta, used to always tell me, you represent this from the doneness, from the overness, right? All the world's a dream in which we've already passed through all of its machinations, looking back on it at a certain point where we seem to be entertaining it, but with a new purpose, okay? And extending into that place, into that darkness, into that idea of the residue of time and space, the certainty of our mind that it already is over, two, it's an illusion, a dream from which we've woken, and three, that you're in the process of awakening from it as we speak. It's not sequential, it's all happening at the same time. If you could take a hollow tube and you look at the history of the earth inside that hollow tube from caveman to whatever we're going to be in 1,000 years from now, and turn it on end and look at the whole tube all at one thing, you just see this kaleidoscope of stuff, you know, going off to almost forever. It wouldn't look like an alpha and omega. It'd look like whoop, all happening now, right? All happening now. So we stand here and we declare that in the now, right? I stand here and I declare in the now that there is no world. It's a dream. It's an illusion from which I've already awoken. You were there with me. And it's like a lighthouse, you know, you just stand there and then whatever can hear it at that level hears it and joins you in it. But most people sort of walk around trying to work out what the hell you're saying, because to them, the world's still incredibly realistic, right? And so don't be concerned about those ones. Don't be concerned about trying to convince people or whatever. It's just like, just stand up and represent it. It's like we had a guy the other day, and one of the other brothers that's here was talking with him, and he's been in and out of mental health all the time, where they're trying to process him, get him on medication and take his life away from him, basically. And when Dean was talking with him, he said, I'm the center of the universe. He said, everything revolves around me somehow. He couldn't work it out, but he goes, I know I'm the middle of the universe and everything else is just an idea about myself or something revolving around me. And when he tries to tell them that in the psych ward, they're like, oh yeah, you've been on drugs, something's happened to you, we'll medicate that, right? Rather than, let's use that experience now as your operating point. Let's use that experience of you being the center of everything as your actual operating point. It's the highest experience you've got. It doesn't make any sense to climb a mountain, get to the top and see the whole view and then go back down to the bottom and just, you know, talk about, I wonder what it looks like up there. It's like, what's the point? That's delusional. You know, when you have an experience, you have to represent it, but don't expect anyone to understand you. So I was having a crack at doing some koans. And I don't know if it's just that some of the guys that are on my page, you know, I've never done koans before, I don't know, but I thought they were pretty tricky, you know, like they were good ones. And I was looking at them on a higher level, like there's no such thing as a koan, you know, there's no world, there's no koans, there's no nothing. And then of course you get those comments that it's like, there was a couple that sort of triggered me a bit, and I had to go, oh my God, am I even going to bother with this or not? Or I'll just let it go. I'll just let it go. And I kept letting it go. But there was a few good ones where I felt like when you express something and somebody hears it, you actually join in that hearing. Like when you guys are reading this 20-minute book in the thing, and someone's reading it and you hear them connect with it for a second, you're like, wow, they really connected with that. I heard them kind of like there's something going on, because you're tuning into that subtle sort of frequency. It makes you feel good. And the feeling good isn't just because of that connection, like on the level here. It's because there's something going on a higher level that you're both connecting with, right? The workbook and the words and everything are just symbols of symbols. They don't actually mean anything at all. The Course in Miracles doesn't mean anything. It's just as illusory as anything else within the frame of time and space. But at least it's telling you that, right? At least the Course is telling you that there is no world. Forget the world, forget this Course. Right? Come with holy empty hands unto your God, and then hopefully you'll have an experience. But anyway, so I just thought that was kind of funny to do a few little Zen style declarations and just see what comes back. When you start to see everything rightly, just like keeping my finger on my nose, when you start to see everything rightly, that there is only me, I am the center of my universe, then everything becomes a declaration. It's like a lighthouse shining the light out there, right? So you become the center of your universe. Whatever needs to find you will find you. Whoever needs to show up will just show up, right? It's not like you have to charge around trying to convince people, hey, you should read this book, or nothing like that. It doesn't really work like that. You know, the Spirit will send them and put them in front of you, whoever needs to be there. So everything becomes a kind of a declaration of there is no world, and it doesn't matter how you express that, through a koan, through dance, through whatever, through poetry, art, through the example of your own divine indifference, perhaps towards whatever seems to be going on around you, as long as you're being honest that it's not divine denial, you know, that you're not using denial inappropriately. But everything simply becomes a declaration. So rather than, and you can judge the shit out of it, right? You can, because the Holy Spirit uses judgment for your holiness. When you come from that place and your expression is referencing, let's say, something that's not temporal, right? You can say whatever you want about it, because you're coming from a place where all of your saying is only bringing you to the point where you can recognize the non-temporal nature of it anyway, right? Judgment doesn't apply in that, right? But it's through your judgment and seeing where it is you're judging things that you're going to finally get to that point where you don't use judgment anymore in that same way. You start to judge for holiness yourself, right? So you start to judge for the holiness of your brothers rather than where you think they're at in their own spiritual transformation, or what they should or shouldn't be doing, what books they should be reading, all that sort of thing. That, you know, because the ego mind comes from the worldly reference where it likes to judge everyone and everything in the world according to what it thinks everyone should be doing. And then when you go into a spiritual reference, it likes to use the same potential in judgment. More people should be doing it this way and that way and all these sorts of things, right? Rather than just letting it flow. And so all your judgments kind of get used to bring you to the place where judgment has no purpose, right? Even in your declarations, right? So I make a declaration, and to me, it's like, imagine Jesus, and Jesus is going around giving his parables and everything, and some seeds are going to be caught up in, you know, which in the weeds and choked, and some will fall by the wayside, and some will find fertile soil. And it's like, I guess because we live in a very, what would you call it? You know, everybody, you can't say things, everyone gets offended, right? Everybody gets offended these days. So if Jesus lived today and taught that, I'm sure there would be a load of spiritual people who go, Jesus, that's judgment, right? And they'd miss the whole point of the parable, You shouldn't be judging those people that can't hear you, and you shouldn't be judging that, you know, and like you seem to be only patting on the back the ones that actually hear what you're saying and not giving credence to the other ones. And it's like, of course he is. Of course he is, because it's trying to make a reference for where it is you have to be in your own way, in your own state of mind, in order to be able to facilitate the shift in consciousness that you need, right? It makes no sense. You can't say two words together out of your mouth that aren't a judgment, because they're based on an idea of one concept and another concept in order to try and communicate something, right? So like in the Course, Jesus says, let your words reflect mercy. That's about as best as you can hope for. And don't expect to be welcomed in for that either. You know, prophets never welcome in their own home, and wherever you go, people are going to be rolling their eyeballs and what the hell, this person's crazy. Don't be concerned about the reflections coming back, right? You wouldn't react at all to figures in a dream unless you actually knew you were dreaming. And it's like, regardless of the fact that it's going to be a reflection of your own thinking anyway, they're still just figures in a dream. Your brother is not a body, right? You're learning to bring yourself to that place where you can avail yourself of the experience of the vision that shows you the truth of your brother and therefore yourself. Okay. If you cow down or whatever to the images in the dream because they tell you things that are spiritual and whatever, and oh, you're this and you're that and you're this and you're that, then you're not standing in your own light, right? There is nothing that occurs by mistake, including your own expression, right? Including your own expression. Everything is God, including you seemingly making mistakes, right? Including you seemingly believing you're a body in time and space. God is everything. God knows not of the body, not of the world and all of that, but it's inclusive, right? You've got to include everything in. You have to accept the world exactly as it is, with all your lumps and bumps and everything, because as above, so below, there is only the will of God. Down here, the will of God exists in potential in the world, exists in potential as an idea of outcomes. We always look at things and it's like, well, what's going to be the outcome? What's going to be the outcome? Which seems to be an ability for us to have some kind of free will, right? Which keeps this delusion of possibility and potential going. But in actual fact, it's always going to be whatever it's going to be anyway. You can't do anything about it. You can't go back in time and say to yourself, oh, I could have chose the other option. You can't, right? Everything is the will of God. In this place, that looks like teaching and learning, right? You learn to harmonize, if you like, or associate closer and closer or higher and higher with the will of God in you as an idea of peace, inner peace, by being willing to learn how to do that, right? That requires both the unlearning and the relearning of a whole bunch of principles that can then be applied to bring about a result. Okay, if the result you're getting doesn't bring you more peace, you're not applying it properly. Either that or you're kidding yourself about wanting to apply it. Does that make sense? So when you make a declaration, like we did in our class the other week, when you stand up and you say, I'm whole and perfect as God created me, or I'm not a body, whatever, you're referencing a non-temporal identity. You're referencing your truth, and you're expressing that out into the forum of the world where it exists solely to crush truth, solely to blot it out and obliterate it. Okay. So your purpose then as a light in the darkness is not to defend yourself against what comes back. I'm going to declare that I'm whole and perfect. And then your next door neighbor or someone you know, they're going to be, oh, don't be so arrogant. Nobody here is perfect, you know, whatever. All of that sort of stuff. It'll be whatever it is, right? You'll get to a point where I guess because you're expecting there's going to be splashback from your declarations, right? But because you're expecting it also, you're looking for your trigger in it, right? You're looking for that thing that makes you want to defend your declaration, right? Now, a child of God needs no defense. You make your declaration, I'm whole and perfect, and someone calls you arrogant or whatever, you don't defend yourself. The whole and perfect don't need to defend themselves. What are you going to defend yourself against? An illusion? Something that's not that? What kind of arrogance would it be to defend yourself against a perspective of yourself that God himself knows you as? Right? It would be total arrogance. It would be like sitting at the bottom of the mountain pretending that you don't know again. Right? Which is why when you have a shift, when you have a moment, it doesn't matter how profound or whatever it is, you know something occurred in your mind that wasn't of your own making. You know that something happened, whether you saw a flash of light, you started hearing the voice, you had a full epiphany, a revelation, it doesn't really matter, right? You have to represent that. Now, your awakening proceeds along kind of logical lines. Your awakening is this thing that keeps gentle pace with you. Jesus says keeps gentle pace with you. One thing follows the next, follows the next, follows the next. There's a plan, right? The experience you had yesterday, even though it's already gone into the idea of yesterday, it's still active in you because everything is in you now, right? The experience you're going to have tomorrow or the next day, it's active in you now. You haven't had it yet, only because your mind isn't ready to actually abandon the allegiance to whatever it is in your own thinking that's preventing you from seeing that it's already actually there. Right? Your enlightenment is now. It's not tomorrow. It's not next week. It's not a year from now or 10 years from now after you've done so much service and all that sort of stuff. It's in you now, okay? And you have little glimpses of it, which shows up in all these different kind of spiritually experiential ways. And it's like looking at, what's that Zen teaching about the three blind men with the elephant, and one's got the trunk and one's got the tail and whatever. But anyway, you have a holy instant and you're like, wow, what was that? Something happened. Or wow, I had this relationship and now it's healed, and whatever, all these things. And you're putting the little bits of a puzzle together. You've got to continue to represent, like you're continually stepping up, forming a tighter and tighter or a more harmonic allegiance with that point of presence in you. Okay. Sometimes you can go for a whole day. Oh, I forgot to do my lessons. I judged someone. I got angry. Whatever goes on in the whole day. Eventually, what happens is you'll go through a whole day and you realize you didn't have any of that. Right? You're harmonizing more and more and more with the flow of the universe. It's like, wow, I got through the whole day today. Nothing pissed me off. That's great. How did that happen? I don't know. Usually I'm very reactive and everything pisses me off because I hate the world and hate myself. Right? So you start to have this kind of like harmonic happen where you come into an alignment more and more and more with the Christ presence in you, and you start to abide with it. And as you begin to represent that, you abide with it more. All right. The world's going to try to knock you down. Don't be stupid. What's got into you? Maybe you need to check into the mental house. Why don't you just forget about all this stuff? All these things will come back, right? And the more that you step up defenselessly, the more you'll be able to hold yourself in a greater and greater alignment with that presence that's within you now. Okay. It's like everything, this relationship over here, this relationship over there, that one at work over there, and these ones from the past, whatever, they all get healed. They all get healed miraculously through an action of forgiveness. They all begin to point in the same direction. They all begin to reflect peace. They all begin to line up. All your ducks start to get in a row, right? And it becomes more and more obvious where your ducks are not in a row, and you want to just put them in a row more. And you have to make that declaration and stand in faith with the Christ in you. Right? and let the pennies fall where they may. Let the pieces just, the backflash or backsplash come back at you and stand there defenselessly, right? If you defend yourself, you're denying the truth of your statement, right? Why would you defend yourself against figures in a dream? Let them be as vicious and cunning and whatever as they want to be and say whatever they want to be. They can't do a damn thing to change who you are or what you are, because that's held inviolate by God, right? The moment is given you, therefore, to step into that awareness and to represent it and to become it by representing it, right? You teach what you need to learn, right? And as you teach this, you learn it. You don't learn this by just reading the book for the last 20 years or who was it when after our Wednesday meeting, somebody said, oh my God, 16 years of lessons all come to an end in one night, right? That was awesome. I couldn't have asked for any greater result unless somebody actually stepped over the precipice and went into the light. That would have been, you guys probably all went back to your day jobs though, I would guess, because here we are. Right. How long are you going to do that for? Right? I don't know. Yes, you do. You do know, because somewhere in your mind that's already occurred, right? Somewhere in your own mind, that idea of transcending time and space in its entirety has happened, right? But in this process, in this whole kind of like waking up, evolution, whatever you want to call it, the associations that want to tether the consciousness to reference points externally on a spiritual plane are still really strong and too strong to break, right? I think it was Shankara said that without some kind of inner death, your bonds to the world are too strong for you to break. You've got to get to the point where we were on Wednesday night, where you die inside, right? Where the ego has nowhere to go, right? And that's that point that we got to, right? That's a good place. That's the edge. You're right on the edge. What are you going to do? Go back into the world, or are you going to jump? Back into the world or jump? Back into the world or jump, right? That's every moment, right? You get to a kind of a place in this where you see that edge so often, you begin to hear yourself telling yourself, I'm not going to step back from the edge. Next time, it's like an alcoholic. I'm never drinking again, right? Until finally you don't drink again, right? With this, it's going to be, I'm going to jump one day. I'm going to jump until finally you jump. Right? You may not have the faith yet to take that, you may not have that leap of faith to actually jump yet, or you may not have that stum or enough suffering to make that leap, but you will, because the Christ is in you, right? The limit on time and space has been set, and the time of your awakening is already like tick-tocking away in there somewhere, waiting for the bells to chime, and it'll happen, right? Whether you like it or not. I'm just telling you what that's going to look like in a moment, because you're going to be brought to the edge for that to occur, right? There'll be this kind of confrontation with the paradox where you either surrender to it or you try to defend yourself from it. That's the only choice you ever have. That's all that's ever going on in all of time and space. I'm either saying yes to God or not yet God. Yes to God or not yet God. Meanwhile, tick-tock, 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 my avatar is getting older and wrinklier and whatever, and my ability to use it could be like up at any tick of the clock. I really don't know, right? No man knows, and the kingdom of heaven waits for no man, and all of that sort of stuff. But that's all you're ever looking at. Yes or not yet. Yes or not yet. Yes or not yet. Right? And you have to hear that again and again and again. Oh, I have a little wagtail bird. Let me show you my friend here. Oh, he flew away. He's on the other side. I don't know if you can see him up there. No. He's on the other. Oh, there he is. Look. He's just there at the tip of my finger. Little teeny tiny wagtail bird. Whoop, gone. There's a whole family of them out there, and sometimes I'll throw sesame seeds and other things. They don't eat it, but I keep doing it anyway. Don't ask me why. I'm probably crazy. So making declarations is incredibly helpful, right? You're declaring and you're defenseless, and then you forgive yourself for what triggers you. Declaring, defenselessness, forgive yourself for what triggers you. It's like throwing a rock in a pond, but the pond doesn't belong to you. You've got no right to throw the rock. That's the way the world would have you believe in it, right? But throw the rock anyway. See the ripples. Let the ripples go out. You make the declaration, those ripples go out, they'll hit the bank, and then they'll come back, right? How long it takes them to come back is how far away you know the bank is. If you're sitting there all day waiting for the ripples, you know they're going to come back, right? They can't just go on forever because time and space is limited. So you make your declaration, there is no world, right? And with all your heart and soul, there is no world. It's just a dream, whatever, right? It's got to be non-temporal, and then that's going to come back at you somehow as karma. How dare you say something like that in the world? And the next thing you know, they'll be like, oh, that guy's crazy, or somebody's been smoking too much of that green stuff, or, you know, there'll be something, right? Everything here is cause and effect. Everything here is cause and effect. You want the effect, right? The effect is valuable to you. Don't defend yourself against it. If people come back to you saying, you're crazy, it's like, yes, I'm crazy. You're insane. Yes, I'm insane. I'm all of it here. I'm all of it. I'm the good, the bad, and the ugly. Okay? In this world, there's no such thing really as sane, other than that you've included yourself in as every kind of parameter of experience or identity here, right? Only then can you be said to be sane, when you've accepted yourself as everything. Until then, it's denial, 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 right? In this world, my sanity is the embracement of my insanity, right? Jesus says every word that comes from your mouth is a lie. Let me accept that every word and every thought that manifests every word is a lie. I must be crazy, right? Now, the resistance against realizing the depth of that craziness, right? It's totally nuts, right? But you get to a place where you say, compared to what? Totally nuts compared to what? Because you don't have a reference point for sanity until you have an experience of something other than what the world offers you. Does that make sense? Your only reference points for sanity until you experience the love of God, your only reference points for what you want to term sanity as are the opposite ones of the ones you call insanity. This person's got it all together. They've got a car and a job and a family, and they seem to be able to manage their lives in a capable way, and blah, 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 blah. That's just as insane as the person running naked around the park going, woohoo, woohoo. And, you know, it's all insanity here. The Buddha said life is suffering, not part of it, all of it, right? The whole dream is denial. If God is sanity, if God represents perfect peace, or the awareness of the presence of God within represents perfect peace, not having that as a reference, you have no choice but to use, let's say, your highest perspectives of what you would call sanity within the framework of the insane, right? So it's like in the asylum, it's like that guy's really insane, and that guy's not too bad. They'll probably let him out next week. And that guy, he's so insane, we don't even know what category to put him in. But hello, you're all in the asylum. We're all here, right? So when something comes back at you, you declare your perfection, and someone says you're an absolute batshit crazy whatever, and they will, right? You got to get to that ugly stuff at the bottom. They will. Don't defend yourself. Just say yes, but know that that's not the truth of you, right? Jesus says, accept the world as it is, but know that it's not your reality, right? For a moment, we're going to play out this whole drama of salvation and look at it from a different perspective with a new purpose, right? But I don't think anyone's got an invisible rocket ship where we can just get away from it entirely. So let's embrace it as it is and deal with it as it is, but know that it's not our reality, knowing that it's an illusion. It's a dream, right? That makes it tolerable, right? And if you've ever been in a really, really downward spiral, mental downward spiral, you know that finding something that's tolerable is like an oasis in the desert. Like even the hope of something tolerable is like an oasis in the desert. So the idea that you even have forgiveness and you can learn how to apply it properly is like an oasis in your mind. It's like, oh, thank God, I've got this thing called forgiveness. I've realized that I'm totally batshit crazy. Like all of my thinking is meaningless, right? Not just the stuff that I think is crazy, but even my good stuff, it's meaningless. It has no, right? I need forgiveness, right? I don't know how to apply that. I don't know how to put it into practice because I've got all these level confusion going on. Well, I don't really need forgiveness because I'm a child of God. What am I supposed to really forgive? That doesn't get you out of where you find yourself, right? It doesn't get you out of where you find yourself in the conundrum. It's like, well, okay, obviously I still do need forgiveness. Right? I'm beset by illusions of guilt, illusions of suffering, illusions of insanity. Let me apply an illusion of forgiveness, right, to bring about an illusion of a moment of shift and change in my mind within the framework of the illusion that's going to bring me back to a different reference point in the illusion where I'm more peaceful, right? It's still a dream, but it's a happier dream, right? It's still in the world, but it's a forgiven world. It's like, right? You can put your feet up for a minute. It's like, I don't want to go outside my front door ever again, right? Consciously. I don't want to get out there ever again, out into that crazy place out there, but it's not out there, it's in here, right? So when you make your declaration, I'm whole and perfect. I don't care what the world says, I'm whole and perfect, and don't defend yourself. It's going to bring up whatever's in here that still needs to be forgiven. Okay? But you need to be vigilant for it. You need to be aware of it. If you make a declaration, I'm whole and perfect, or I am as God created me, as long as it's not of the world, you make that declaration, forgot you've made it, people are going to come up to you telling you you're batshit crazy and you're going to want to defend yourself again. You've missed the opportunity, right? Literally the opportunity to transcend the level that you're at now to bring about a higher level experience is don't defend yourself. Let it happen, okay? And when you don't defend yourself against what comes back, you'll feel inside this upwelling, right? If it's really embarrassing or whatever, you'll feel inside this upwelling where you want to say something to that person. I just want to grab you by the neck and choke the shit out of you. You've been so rude to me and whatever, or I want to, buddy, you know, like you'll feel all this emotionality coming up, right? Don't defend yourself against that emotionality and don't externalize it onto someone or something else. Simply allow it to come up and have the release of it. Okay? Allow it to come up and have the release of it. Like when we draw our circle and we step into our circle and whatever we're thinking of, that person that we have a grievance or whatever, and we let it go. We give it to the Holy Spirit. Here, take this. I've got all this emotionality. Someone just called me a batshit crazy and I'm feeling really, really annoyed about that. I want to shout at them or I want to do something, but I'm told I have to be defenseless. I'm in conflict, right? Help. Okay, help. Vinka, are you there? We can't see you. You've got such a chirpy face.
I just sent her a message. She didn't respond.
Oh, did you? Maybe she's not there.
Maybe not, because she didn't respond to
me. Vinka.
I said the same thing. Oh, there she is.
There she is. There she is.
Oh, now I feel like this. You didn't respond to me.
You have to turn this down the bottom, down here in this side of the screen. You turn your camera on. That's right. You've done it now. So welcome. So anyway, when I did, like yesterday, I thought it was a really cool one, and then I've had these people. I don't know. I've been defending myself against it, I guess. Right. So I've been trying to justify why. Well, you always think there's going to be the hope that someone's going to hear something, you know. It's like, maybe if I can explain it differently, but in the end, you just have to go, nah, they're never going to get it. Move on. Right. So it's like Jesus said, 2 in 10,000 will hear this. So I don't worry about what the reflections of my own process are particularly doing, but I sort of live in hope, I guess, a bit that, you know, you like to think that you can be helpful. Sometimes all the help you can be is being of no help at all. Just walk away. Anyway, Vivian, what's going on with you? Did you hear me then, or you didn't hear me? You have to unmute.
Okay. Yes.
What's going on?
Oh, someone just walked in and I needed to respond to them. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, that's okay. I was just thinking, you look good. You're looking more radiant and a little bit more like coming back to life. And yeah. You go back to one of the first meetings where you attended. It looks like somebody just opened the casket and you were in there like.
Yeah.
Dear one used to say, look at all the dead things. It was kind of an in joke, you know. It's a judgment, but it was a kind of a funny one. You got to have fun with your spirituality, you know. As long as you don't take it seriously, it's all good.
Yeah.
So you're all happy?
I have taken it seriously. No.
You kind of do at the start, you know, because it's so bulky as an idea to take on board. You kind of have to stop being an idiot and focus and try to study it and make sure you get it. And then you kind of come out the other end and you can start to have fun with it again, right? But
yeah,
it's like when I know, it's like when you have to study for anything. It's just like, oh, I hate study, you know, like you'd much rather be goofballing around with everything. So
right. Especially when you think you already know it.
Oh yeah. First there is a mountain, then there is no mountain, then there is. Have you heard that song by Donovan?
Yeah.
The only thing to know is what you are. That's it. All the concepts and everything else, forget about it. I've had a few good meltdowns, you know, like where you, I don't know if you've had, I'll just say like, as if you know what I'm talking about, but I used to go around and around teaching, right? Or we'd call it teaching, holding little 3-day workshops and introductions to the course all around the country. And we'd put on we'd go to the next little town, put on an event, you know, we'd advertise and put a thing in the paper, A Course in Miracles, free for anyone, whatever. And people would just turn up, and for most people, it'd be the first time they've ever heard of the course. So it was really nice just to be able to put that out. But there was quite a few times when you'd have people, or I would have people that were very religious or whatever, and they'd come back at me with biblical stuff. And I'm not a biblical scholar. I mean, I've read the Bible once end to end, and I've read the New Testament a few times over and over, but I couldn't quote you chapter and verse on anything. So there's always these guys that are very good at the chapter and verse stuff, and they'll quote it like it's like this sacrosanct kind of, you know, and if you don't abide with it exactly, you're doomed. And it's like, I love the idea of being doomed. Doomed is a good place. Right? It's more honest. It's more honest than trying to pretend something like some kind of spiritual premise where I'm not really sure. You know, it's refreshing. It's like, no, I'm fucked. I need help. I'm always doomed. But I've had a few moments in those sort of situations where I've just fallen to pieces, and it's like all of a sudden I can't think of a comeback. You know, I can't, because like the temptation is always to want to defend yourself or to be able to meet that where it is. You know, it's like, all right, I got nothing to say here.
I got nothing. Yeah.
Right, I got nothing, bupkis. That's actually a good place. That's actually a nice place to be. It's really clean and refreshing. It's like a fresh mountain spring, you know. But the thing that I really loathe in this is when you go to a group and everybody's got their books and they're all, you know, very vigilant and the whole thing, and nobody's having any fun. No, everybody's, you know, it's like you feel like walking in there with a beer in your hand or something. It would be sacrilegious. You know? So, but it's like they're all my old ideas of things, and you know, when you process through that. Nowadays, I don't care less. I don't like I used to think that it had to look a certain way or not look a certain way, and I'd get that reflection. You know, now I don't care. It's like, look at this. A course meeting looks like a Zoom thing, and you know, whatever it's going to be.
Yeah. May I please ask, when you started this last thread, you used 3 terms: declaration, defenselessness, and one more, but I don't remember what the third one was.
Oh, I was waiting for you to tell me. I don't remember either.
Oh, declaration, defenselessness.
Maybe forgiveness. That would probably follow.
Okay.
That's kind of the main one, actually. You can't forget that one.
Yeah, and that's our only job, right?
That's the most useful.
Yeah.
But it's like, Vivian, don't put it as a set in concrete kind of process, right? Let yourself fuck it up. Let yourself get it wrong, right? If you're sitting there trying to work it out so that you can apply it to how I said it tomorrow, you're missing the point of what I'm saying. You're free to get the results of your own thinking, including making mistakes about how you process your own spiritual transformation.
Yeah, I'm doing that part really well.
Good, good, because that's how it is. You see what you're doing in your own mind. I'm only telling you that you're probably doing it all wrong, right? Because I know that I'm doing it all wrong, and I know that I need a miracle, right? I do it so wrong, I need a miracle. I need something from God to fix it for me.
Please.
I didn't just break a window. I didn't just knock over someone's mailbox in my 4-wheel drive. I made a whole continuum of dark light experience that seems to be a prison house for, like, exactly. I need a fucking miracle.
Yeah.
Right? I'm so screwed.
Yeah. That would be me.
Well, exactly. But you be you.
We must be twins.
Probably. You're probably an idea in my head that's just telling me what I want to hear. But anyway, you be you, and whatever it is I'm telling you in these Zoom meetings, just use it as a kind of a, how would you call it? Just let it hang there in the ether, right? If you're trying to document it so that you can put it into an actual application the next time you have a conflict, you're going to miss the opportunity to defer it to the Holy Spirit, because that's where you need to be in your own mind, right? So instead of thinking, what did Dave say, right? What happens is everything I'm telling you, right, is going to be hanging back here in the ether of your mind. So the next time you'll have an experience out in the world, you'll be like, oh, I remember Dave talked about that, and a penny will drop, right? That penny drops, not so you can do what I said I did or anything like that, but so you can do your own individual process with God. Okay? That's it. And maybe it will look like doing what I said. I don't know. Right? Don't rule anything out ever, but don't also close your mind off to this is how I have to do it, right? The ego is tenacious. It loves to cling to an exact process, method, system, because that's all it knows. It doesn't like to run off the edge of the map where there's no go here, don't go there. There's no signs, there's no street sign. You run off the edge of that map of the universe, you know, it's like there's no up or down or nothing. Ego hates that because it can't control anything, right? Your mind's in there looking how to control your own mindset so that you can try to preempt how you're going to face the next moment. right? That's a form of defense, right? You don't need to write anything down. Just trust that you heard it. Unless you're writing a book, I don't know. Just trust that you heard it and it's in there somewhere in the ether. If it's useful to you down the track, it'll pop in. If it's not useful, don't worry about it. Okay. I used to sit and listen to Ted for hours every day, right? For 6 years, hours. He would just talk twice as much as me. I would sometimes only hear 2 words he said in a whole day of chit chat, but those 2 words were incredibly helpful. I knew I didn't have to write them down. I knew I didn't have to try and remember them. They were just in there because I heard it. I heard me hear it, right? I heard me hear it. I heard me take it on board. It made sense. It went click in my consciousness somewhere. And I just trusted that when I need that information or that whatever it is to in a situation, it'll be there if it's meant to be there, right? Because this is entirely miraculous. I'm learning to become miracle-minded, not dependent upon my own ability to maintain some kind of disciplinary association with the concepts. Right? Fuck the concepts. You don't need a Course in Miracles. You don't need 365 lessons. If you really wanted to, you could step into the void now and remember your Father perfectly. Right? The whole thing with the Course is Jesus knows you'd have no intention of doing that because that would end the dream. So we're just going to lead you to the edge gently, 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 one lesson at a time, one day at a time. Let's look at this again and again and again and again in a different way every time. And you'll sit there and you'll say, oh yeah, I get that, I get that, I get that. And then all of a sudden one day you'll be at the edge and you'll go, holy cow, how did I get here? Like on Wednesday night's meeting, right? Tina nearly had a baby and she wasn't even pregnant. She didn't think she was. Right? But that's the whole point of it. You're always, it's like everything's always now. Your enlightenment is now. Your liberation is now. It's the acceptance of it. Do I want to accept it now, or do I want to play around in the dream a little bit longer? You know, there's only one thing here that you need to know, and that's what you are. Nothing in the world is going to tell that to you, reveal that to you. Nothing. Because it doesn't exist within the framework of the world. All the trying to work it out, all the notes you take, all the books you read, they're all pointless. Listening to me, pointless. Why would anyone listen to me? You've already got the power of God in you. I'm only ever going to keep telling you that again and again and again until finally you go, oh, hang on a minute. I heard that. I heard you say that. I'm going to live from that from now on, right? You're free. You're completely free. That's the scariest thing you're ever going to hear. You can never die. That's the second scariest thing you're ever going to hear. You can never, never die. That's terrifying. You can never die. You're depending on death to get you out of this. At some point, hopefully before your body becomes too unmanageable. Right? But that's not going to get you out of this. There's only one thing that'll get you out of this is the realization, not the concept, that you're not even in it to begin with. Right? Which is your awakening. When I had my awakening, I realized that there was no world because what I saw made more sense to me and was more true to me than anything the world's ever represented. I realized immediately that the world was completely false. There's no trees, there's no clouds, no sky, no ocean. There's none of it. None of it exists. It's just a fabrication made up. And here I am as this conscious avatar being looking at it from within it, seemingly from within it, trying to work out what the hell's going on. Right? Stop trying to work out what's going on and just wake up. Stop trying to work out what's going on and have an experience. Right? Now, when do you want it?
No.
Right. Now you have to ask. Father, I need an experience. Right? I need to remember. I need to wake up. Right? But you got to ask with nothing in reserve. You can't ask with a back door open and just in case you don't like it. I'll give up the world and follow you, Jesus, but if it's really shitty, I'm just going to come back. If it's really shitty, my boss said he'll keep my job open for me. I'll go back to being a fisher of men. You think the disciples could have gone back to being fishermen? Imagine Simon, the tax collector, going back to being a tax collector after following Jesus for 3 years. It's like, what the hell? What's he going to do? What would you do? What would you do? You follow Jesus around the hills of Galilee Basin, you know, for like 3 years. You see all the stuff goes on, and then Jesus disappears, poof, you know, gone. See you later. I'll see you when you get home. And you're like, it'll be like a Monty Python movie. Now what am I going to do? I'll just go back to making sandals or being a fisherman. You can if you want to, but it makes more sense to be about your Father's business and to step up into the holy sandals of Christ, if you like, and to make that declaration. Whoa, I just saw something that was beyond explanation. I just saw a man transfigured in light, healed the blind, healed the lepers, you know, all of that stuff, bread and loaves and fishes and stuff. I have to tell people about this, right? And so the disciples went here, there, and everywhere, up to Greece and India and whatever, and told everybody what they saw, right? And everybody probably went, you're crazy. You probably drank some of that cactus juice, you know, and whatever. Like, and they would have had to be defenseless in their own reckoning of it, right? Just the same as you. Dust off your sandals and move on. If they don't want to hear it, dust off your sandals and move on, right? But it's like your own process is no different to the process of the disciples. You've got in your hands a book that says there is no world. Now what are you going to do? Put it back on the shelf, pretend you didn't read it? What are you going to do with that? Right? You can sit there and muddle it out in your own head what you're going to do with it, or you can be about the expression of it. Right? Let me live from spirit and declare, whether words or not, it doesn't matter. Declare my passion now for a non-temporal version of myself, a non-temporal identity of myself, and see where that goes. Because I see that everything I was doing before wasn't very helpful. I just went round and round and round in circles. And it kept bringing me to this place where I'd pick up this Course in Miracles book, or I'd end up at church every Sunday. It's like, why am I here? I don't even like church. The seats are hard. The guy talks in a funny voice and they take my money off me. Right? But there's an opportunity there to learn. There's something in you that knows that there's something going on. You can't quite connect with it on a level that it's going to be useful to you yet but it's there. You feel it. There's something not right in the world. You feel it. You feel this sort of call for something more than what the world seems to be offering, right? The entirety of that call is available to you now, right? It's like I feel like an encyclopedia salesman. I'm standing at the front door and I'm saying, look, you can have all these encyclopedias and know everything right now. And you're like, well, maybe I'll just take A to D, you know, or see how that goes for a minute. It's like, no, you need A to Z. You need the whole encyclopedia. You can't know everything without the whole thing, right? So Jesus is offering you the whole encyclopedias right now. And you're like, oh, I don't know, Jesus. I don't know. Let me think about that for a minute. Right? I'll say yes, and I'll go to a few meetings, and I'll read your book. I'll look at the lessons.
All right. Right. Whatever.
Right, exactly. Whatever. Thanks, Jesus. It'll look good on the coffee table, Jesus. But that's how it is, though, right? As soon as you get a true offering made to you, the ego jumps in, because it always speaks first. The ego jumps in and goes, oh, let me analyze that. Right? And instantly, the ability for you to say yes, simply say yes to the offering and have it be what it is corrupted by your need to analyze it. Right? It's like, oh, hang on a minute. You mean just say yes and let it be what it is? Let Jesus say what he says in the Course without me having to understand that and just let it in? Yes. That's what it is, right? So in the white edition, hang on, let me just show you. This is a perfect example. So here we go. This is my book B, which is a bit battered around, and book A. So in the white edition, there's no table of contents. There's no chapterization. There's no numeric reference at the end of the line. There's nothing. It's all out, right? You can't pinpoint it in your head the same way that you do with the other versions of the Course or with the Bible, you know, chapter this, line that, whatever. You can't study it in the same way, right? The ego loves to take something that it hears and compartmentalize it into something that makes sense compared to other things that it's heard that are similar that also make sense, and therefore build up a witness to there could be credibility in this, right? Or dismiss it, whatever. Right? So when you're reading the white edition, you'd be like, oh, I read something, right? And unless you actually went and got a paper mark, a bookmark and put it in there, you'd have trouble finding it again. There are not even any page numbers. It's like a document. You're reading the document in exactly the same way as if you were standing on the hill. Right, I know, it's terrible. What, you couldn't do that because you're a pen and paper person, right?
Yeah.
Imagine if you're standing there, Jesus goes up to the mountain and he starts doing the Beatitudes, you know, and whatever, and you're there with your pen and paper. You're actually missing, right? You're actually missing what he's saying by doing that.
Yeah.
Right? You're converting what he's saying into symbols in your own mind and then externalizing it again for a reference in the future, right? That's all ego. Those guys that were listening there on the mountain, they're all standing there, you know, like 25,000 people, whatever it was. And Jesus is saying things, you hear it when you hear it. It goes in, you hear it, and it's like, bam, it's like, woo, right? The Vivian that you think you are that's doing the Course in Miracles isn't the Vivian that wakes up. You simply cease to exist because you don't exist now, right? So all the note-taking and the study, I mean, in a certain sense, you have to overlearn this to learn it, but all of that note-taking and stuff, it's actually denying what it is that you're hearing. And you say to me, what was that thing you said? Right? As if you didn't hear it. You wouldn't be able to ask me the question unless you heard it. You just have to trust that it's in there somewhere. You heard me say a thing. I'm following Jesus. I heard Jesus give a speech on the top of the mountain about blessed be the poor and blah, blah, blah. I don't remember the whole thing, but I know I heard him say it. Right? The fact that I heard him say it means I've entered it into mind. I've entered it into the process here somewhere. When it needs to come up, it will, but I have to have faith that it will. I have to trust that it will, because this is a journey of miracle mindedness, not a journey of, hang on a minute, I wrote that down somewhere. Okay. Can you hear that?
Yeah.
It's very different. I'm not telling you don't write it down. I'm just saying that that's not going to avail you any benefit. Okay.
Yeah.
Life is in the moment. Right? Life is in the moment. Your salvation is in the moment. It's here and now. Okay? Don't document it. Don't take selfies. Don't take photographs of what the here and the now is. Just appreciate it. Just accept it, include it in, let it in, and let it do what it needs to do to you, because this is a completely organic and natural process. As soon as you want to put your own 2 cents worth in, you're getting in the way. Jesus simply says, listen. Right? In your listening, you'll learn. In your learning, you'll do. Right? Listen, learn, and do is the motto for the Course. Listen to my voice, learn to undo error, and do something to correct it. Right? I think the only person he ever told to take notes was Helen. If you've ever seen the story of A Course in Miracles with Helen and Bill and Ken and Judith Scutch and all of that in it, and right at the beginning when Helen's talking about when she first started to hear the voice, and she heard, "This is the Course in Miracles. Please take notes." Right? That's the only time Jesus has ever told anyone to take notes. The rest of the time, simply listen. Just let it in, let it happen. It's organic, it flows, okay? You have to trust the process. I mean, if you want to take notes, but, you know, or you can trust me that there's something going on that if you don't take notes for a second, maybe something else will happen, you know? And everyone's got their own particular way they take notes. You don't have to have pencil and paper. I mean, it's mental, right? The whole thing, the pencil and paper is just a physical externalization of what you're actually doing in your head, right? So God is now. Oh. And that's it. Like, it's not more difficult than that, right? It's so simple. Everything. It's like Ted used to say that there's stuff above your pay grade, you know, and like the ego always wants to know what's above its pay grade. But right now the pay grade is be a miracle worker. That's it, right? But the need for miracles is temporary. When you fulfill that function, then you can go on to something else. All right? To be a miracle worker takes one thing. Listen. Right? What do I do in this situation? Everything's going crazy. Everyone's shouting at me. Everything's like all over the place. What am I going to do? Oh, let me listen. Right? Because instead of all that voice that tells you everything's going crazy, there's another still voice in there that if you listen to it, it'll tell you exactly what to do. It's your true guide, your higher guide. That's all you got to do. Listen. You can sum up the whole course in one word: listen. Right? From that, everything will proceed along logical lines and you'll be able to process your own particulars perfectly well. It'll be completely apparent. There'll be nothing left out. Every jot and tittle is accounted for, and be like, Vivian, simply do this. Get your pen and pencil. No kidding. Doug, what's happening? I love that. I love that painting you did. The one that I commented looks like Miro. There was a definite Miro-esque kind of.
Yes. I'm glad you liked it. I also enjoy it.
I know. It's got something. There's a something there. You know, and when you see a paint.
Yeah.
You see a painting sometimes in an art gallery or whatever, and it'll just like, bam, it'll just hit you, and there's something there, and you can't pick it. You just like,
right.
I felt what you felt when you put it on the paper. I'm guessing that's, you know.
What's funny is that all these moments come up, and I look back at these pieces, and I couldn't for the life of me figure out how I did it or why I did it, or
I know. Yeah.
And also I could not repeat it. It's like looking at great art saying, well, I'm going to repeat that again. And I can't do it.
No, you can't.
We're talking about being in the moment. It's kind of, you know,
right.
A nice way to talk about that.
Oh, my battery is low. Hang on. Uh-oh. Yeah, it's exactly like that. Oh, I got to turn on my electricity.
You know, the idea too that I'm not even that person that I was when I did it, you know, that's also true.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
I know. Everything's in a constant state of change.
Right.
It's like, and the next thing, you know how some artists, and they have a particular style, and you can tell who they are by their work and whatever. Yours is so eclectic, like you're just totally in the moment with it, and it's just like whatever comes out. And it's like, I can tell in my mind, you have no clue what the hell you're painting. It just comes out, and it's like, there it is. That's what it's meant to be. That's what's been trying to get out of my head.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's like therapy.
Yeah, it's cool. I saw it. I saw the therapy there. I'm like, that's awesome. I really loved it. So
Yeah, I was looking at it today and thinking, gee, I'd like to be able to do something like that myself. You know, I'd like to be able to do what that guy did.
Yeah, forget that. Just do the next one.
Right. The other dream I've been having is that I would like to be able to continue to help people. So I made a new brochure. You saw a little bit of it online there, although it wasn't the actual brochure. It was a outline of it. And
declaration.
Yeah, and so I've got a dream, and I've had it throughout my life. I remember actually having it's funny, talk about declarations. Here we go. I remember sitting under a birdberry bush when I was about 4. And I remember all the turmoil somehow, the conflicts going on. I sat under it, and I can see myself there. And I said to myself, I am going to help people whenever I can. And so the dream I have now with the new brochure is that I can continue to help people.
Right.
And it's a beautiful dream, whether it happens or not. I mean, I've done it before. Whether it happens or not, I have no idea, but it is a lovely dream.
That's good. It's the healer's dream. It's like it's totally in alignment with your own process.
Yeah.
Just go for it. You just got to remember to do this.
Right. Yeah. Oh, I know.
There's no one out there to heal. Right.
Well, I realize that I look forward to healing myself with the work.
Right. That's exactly it. Physician, heal thyself.
Yeah, I missed that.
That's
so I'm
good.
glad coming back around again.
Have a read of let's open the psychotherapy purpose and practice, I think it's called, or the psychotherapy and prayer purpose and practice. It was originally released as the little green supplement to the course. It was only like a thin little book, maybe 100 pages, I don't know. But I was just looking if I have a copy there, but I don't. It's specifically written for guys that want to set themselves up as like formal kind of healers, you know, in a capacity where people can come and specifically for that purpose. It's really cool. And the other book that I really like for things like that is, I know I've mentioned it before, Joel Goldsmith, The Infinite Way, where he talks about his life as a healer. It's just like, holy cow, that guy was onto it. So, and that's pre the course, like totally pre the course. So, no, that's good, Doug. Thanks for that. Thanks for doing that.
Yes.
I love the healing arts, you know, even you go to the hospital and the nurses and the doctors and everybody there, it's like somewhere in their heart, you know, they've felt the call to be a healer somewhere, and they've been sort of channeled into whatever's most useful for them at their particular crossroads of where they're at in life and all of that sort of stuff. So when I go to the hospital or a doctor's clinic or anything like that, which is pretty rare, but when I go there, I always feel like I'm in really good company, like like-minded company. And you'd be surprised how many nurses, really more than doctors, but how many nurses are actually open to the idea of the mentalism of disease.
Mm-hmm.
You know, manifesting it in the mind and stuff like that. It's really cool, and you can have some really nice conversations, but with yourself.
Right.
I know. It's like everything, the plug gets pulled on everything. It's just like, I
didn't hear you.
Learning to laugh at myself, you know. You get all excited about something and then boop, Jesus pulls the plug.
Oh, well, yeah, several times in my life, I'm very excited and nope, pull the plug.
I know. It's like, I get it. And you have to be grateful. Like you have to be grateful. It's like the universe is giving you a bit of a reorientation or a reset. You know, you sort of like, oh.
Yeah, like, oh, okay.
There's always that, like, I've never had a moment of change without there being some kind of like, where you see it and you see what you're doing, and then all of a sudden you see the alternative, and it's like, why didn't I see that a year ago? Or, you know.
Absolutely.
What's happening, Pam? Now look at the comfy couch you're on. Look at the big pillows.
It is a nice couch. Hi.
Hi.
This has been a wonderful evening. Thank you.
I'm glad.
Well, I've been a course facilitator for a few years, and it's wonderful to be out of control.
Awesome.
To turn over control. It is awesome. As you said, to sit back and listen. It was reminding me of the old CB radio calling for help. And you turn on your CD and you go, help, 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 help. But the thing was, I had to remember to let go.
Right.
Because, right, I was always holding the mic. It's like I'm always holding the mic. Blah, 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 blah. And now I can let go.
Yes.
Listen.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I've been enjoying this. And I have canaries, so now and then they burst into song.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And I just had a CB fitted in my truck, so there you go.
Yeah, all right. Citizen band, all right.
I'm gonna go and sit in there and hang on to it.
Yeah, help, 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 help.
Yeah. I won't even ask for help. I'll just hang on.
Oh, yeah. Just dominate the airwaves.
Yeah. Sometimes you white knuckle it a lot, you know, and then you go, oh, that's right, ask for help.
And then listen.
And then listen. Just
and
listen.
Then listen.
It's always there.
Because I mean, that's kind of how I had been for so long, was calling for help and then forgetting to listen.
Yep.
Yeah.
Easy to do. It's like the help mind is that manic mind. It's like help, 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 and then let's decide what the help's going to look like.
Yes, yes.
Right. I'll go and see the doctor for my problem, and when they write me a prescription, I'll tell him what I want.
Right. Yes.
Right. Yeah. Vivian's gone dark. Vinca, we're in the V's. Oh, Bethleen's a B. She's an early one. Where are you? Are you still in your caravan?
Yeah, I'm in my caravan. I'm watching my horse out the window. Turning around. I've sort of put her around a big bunch of guinea grass so she can't wander off. And I went for a little ride this morning to clear a few cobwebs out of my computer. And it was interesting listening to what you were saying, because actually it answered a lot of questions that have been coming up again, you know, the usual stuff. What on earth am I doing in this dream? What am I doing in this dream? And yeah, very interesting. I have no answer.
Every day.
I have no answers.
Wake up every day and be like, oh. Whatever.
Yeah.
Cool. Your sound connection is not very good. You're sort of like buzzing in and out and stuff. But...
Yeah, I probably don't have a very good reception here. So right. I'm lucky to actually have a video.
Well, good. All right. Hey, Bethleen, what's going on?
Hey.
Can you mute your thing, Vinca? That's it. Thank you.
I just really resonating with everything you were saying and talking about. And lots moving.
Good.
Yeah. Just like full time, just the course full time here.
Yep.
So everything, happening or not happening or whatever is just using that, bringing a lot of darkness to the Holy Spirit, a lot of things peeling off, it's a full-time thing. It's amazing.
Yep, it is. It's all or nothing.
It's all. So I'm just all right now. So everything you were talking about, all the subtleties of attack and defense, seeing all of that, like just the eyes opening more and more, seeing the wrong-minded, how it's just so habitual and so strong, and I always say, I don't want to be here, and I'm got to get out of here, I'm done, and yet, I'm starting to see the places I'm addicted to this world, this dream.
Right.
How you think, no, I don't want anything to do, but you find yourself drawn in and buying in, and then it's like, oh, look at that, so a lot of subtleties, I think, that I'm kind of working with all the time now, and not just so subtle too.
Yeah, just make sure you take it up.
Yes.
Well, otherwise, you'll be looking out here for subtleties and everything forever and ever and ever.
Right.
Right.
Like what you were saying about not taking it so serious too, like I take everything so serious, and it's really important to me to do it by, and then like the moments that it needs to relax and loosen up, finding my rigidity, and so it's just a constant.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just part of the process. This too shall pass.
Yes.
Right. So you'll have this thing where all of a sudden you'll be going along and there'll be rigidity and there'll be whatever there is, and then you'll have a shift.
Yeah. Oh, I'll be crying one moment, laughing the next. I'm just, there's like this, kind of an insane sanity. Again, right. And I spend a lot of time alone, so it's almost like there's, this like kind of but it feels like a grace from God, to just have the space to go insane.
To go
because
sane.
All of this is, when you realize you've been wrong about everything, it's a little crazy making there.
Yeah, no, you get over that.
Yeah. And
realizing you've been wrong about everything and accepting you've been wrong about everything is two different things.
Yeah.
The process of accepting I've been wrong about it, once having seen it, it's like that's more humbling and more we're not used to the humbling of pride and all of this sort of stuff that sort of comes along with the self-reflection of where we're really at. We tend to like to think that we're fairly capable kind of human beings, and then even in the world, you realize that you're actually completely off tap.
Yeah.
Like it can throw you for a six, but that's all good. By the grace of God, everything comes around full circle. Everything comes around. It's like there's been so many times where I've read stuff in the course and all of a sudden it's just like my whole rug gets pulled out from under my feet and all the blocks fall, the house of cards comes tumbling down again and again and again. And eventually you just learn not to rebuild it.
Right.
Just stay at the bottom, right? Why would I want to be right about anything in this place? God damn it.
And yet the defense will continue, and then you're like,
right,
wait.
exactly, of course. Because that part of the mind that's still attempting, in the residue of the identity, even though you're now in the process of releasing it, there's still this residue that remains in you as potential. And that potential has nowhere to go other than denial.
Right.
The ego has no clue what's outside of its own framework.
No.
The highest level the ego can reach is the spiritual teacher or the guru or the buddy enlightened mind or whatever that, you know. Beyond that, no clue. You know? The realm of the senses, that's all it's got. So don't be discouraged by the pulling of the rug from under your feet. Be grateful for it. You know, but it takes a moment.
That's what I'm
right.
learning.
Yeah, it takes a minute to learn to be grateful for it, because prior to that, we've defended ourselves against it so ardently.
So painful.
Maintaining face, you know, like Chinese people have this whole culture of face. I don't know if you're familiar with Chinese culture, but
yeah, they
maintain face. If you catch a Chinaman out in a lie, right, you never call them out on it because they would lose face. You have to find another way to make the lie believable, but let them know that you know it's a lie. You know what? It's so bizarre. It's so strange how it operates. Right? Otherwise, they won't do business with you. They'll tell you all the tall tales and the whole thing like that, and you just have to nod and smile and say yes. Right? It's much like salvation. But if somebody in China tells you something and you don't believe it, you can't tell them that can't be right or you don't believe it. You have to find another way to allow them to maintain face or keep face whilst you let them know that, you know, you let them know that you know.
Yep, like a little like that.
Yeah, it is like that. It's a lot like that. It's bizarre. So, but bizarre compared to what? Who knows? I don't know.
Exactly.
Good. So we're all good? Tina?
Yeah.
Oh, go on.
Yes.
Go on. Yeah. All good.
Overall, yep.
Me?
You look far too happy.
I'm really good. You should have called me yesterday, though. Actually, anyway, it's been so good.
I could feel your vibe. I could feel your vibe yesterday.
It was good though. A couple of things. No, it wasn't good. When you were talking about the listening thing, it just I guess triggers some memories. When I was an actress, I would never highlight my lines specific from in the script, and I would get scolded all the time for not highlighting the separate. I just wanted to be able to listen to what was being said. I would read the script and I would just listen to what was said, and then just naturally what needed to be said would come out. So I would never highlight. And it was just interesting when you were talking about that, about listening. And when I was a waitress, while I was an actress, I would never write down orders. And I would try to, and I used it, the ego, of course, to impress people. So I'd have like a table of 10 people, and I would just have them give me the order. And I would just listen to what everyone was saying. And I would be able to, more times than not, like be able to put the entire order in. But I would just do that sort of to impress them. But that whole like listening aspect was really cool to hear you talk about that.
Yeah.
But I want to talk to you about something else. When we did the Wednesday night meeting, I always hate those teachings when like the search is over.
Right.
I just hate that because I have no part in this. You know what I mean? It's like when they say, if you really wanted to hear when you say stuff like, when you really want to hear the Holy Spirit, then you'll hear the Holy Spirit. When you really are ready to wake up, then you know what I mean? It's like, oh, but how much more desire do I have to? Like, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? And then when it said that it's because you have this fear of God or fear of love, and I'm like, that's insane. I don't get that. And then my hands would have to be off of it, and I just have to be open for it. I hate that. I hate that. And it so disturbed me. I really felt physically like, what else is being asked of me? How much more? What do you want? And I had an experience. Someone was giving me so much love. Not like, like this body, giving this body love, but just like giving me so much love. And I was hearing this and then got very, very fucked up with it. Like, it was like, he asked me about my experiences, like my spiritual experiences. I had none. So all of a sudden there was this word, the unworthiness. And then I was like, I fooled him. Like he thinks that I'm like something, like I'm like the Christ. I fooled him. And then it spiraled out. Like I'm fooling everybody. I'm not the Christ. I'm fooling Dave. I'm fooling God. Like I'm fooling God. Like I'm this big fucking fraud. I'm fooling. And I spiraled into all of this unworthiness. Like my mind was going crazy and it was saying, you should just kill yourself. You should just kill yourself. And I was like, I'm really not going to kill myself, but I'm okay if I just go ahead and die because I have just fucked up everything. I fooled everyone. Everyone thinks I'm Christ and I just can't. And but it was like, I didn't, the whole day, I was just like, the whole day, these thoughts were like on me. And it was like later in the night, like almost I went to sleep and I heard you say in my head, you're mind training. And I was like, fuck, these thoughts don't mean anything. Like, what are you doing? Like, these are not my thoughts. And it was like this little like switch like happened. But what was so cool was there was this this truth, this honesty that came out because I find it, well, I don't know if I'm analyzing it, but it was like this whole thing of like, I don't get what you mean. I am rejecting God or I don't want the love of God. It was an actual experience of this love coming at me. And I totally do like reject it. So there was this honest like moment of, it's true. So I could have like an honest prayer, like, oh, I am responsible. I don't want this love, but I changed my mind. I do, but I could be honest and not just immediately reject these things that are being said to me. And then there was this like openness and it's, oh, it just felt good to just like, that just dropped. And I don't know what any of that means, but it feels really good now.
It is good. It's good.
Right
you have to see it and you saw it. So there it is.
Yeah.
Everything. The funny thing is you can read the book and it's kind of like 1,100, 1,200 pages, whatever it is. You can read that book and you'll be like, I can relate to that bit, don't relate to that bit. I can relate to that bit, don't relate to that bit. Maybe he's talking about someone else and whatever. It's all relative to you, not as Tina, but as mind, as the mind that has total connection to the schism of separation as the idea and the potential contained within that idea. It's about you in the entirety of it. When Jesus says you don't want love, you don't want peace, which is the first block, the desire to get rid of peace, right? You don't want God. God would wreck everything, right? The desire to get rid of peace. Until you actually see yourself doing that, like you just did, it's like, oh my God, I was offered all the love in the universe and I rejected it.
And it kept coming for me and the love didn't stop. Like it just kept coming for me. And I was like, I've totally like tricked this person. I'm fooling you right now. I'm such a liar. You know what, but it was just, and I wasn't voicing these words. My body was, you know, doing all the things, but my mind was like, so yeah, I'm sorry.
That's all right. They love you so much that they see through your bullshit and ignore it anyway.
Oh my God.
The only one who doesn't know what you're doing is you, right? It's like the joke's always on me. The joke's always on me. I'm the only one who doesn't hear what I'm saying. I'm the only one who doesn't know what I'm doing. I'm the only one who doesn't get it, right? There's nothing to get in that regard, but you know what I mean? It's like the buck stops here, always. If Jesus tells me I'm denying love and I haven't found that as my own experience, Jesus, maybe you mean that other guy over, you know, or then I'm missing the point. It's like he says to me, seek for the blocks and find them. Seek for the blocks and find them. Just because you seem to find yourself here with a spiritual book and able to read about love and all these things, and you're telling yourself, oh, well, I don't want to deny God. That doesn't mean that the running program going on back down the stairs in the vault of your deep, dark mind isn't pumping out those Amityville horror kind of tunes. Deny God, deny God, deny God, deny God. You just can't hear it. You're too busy up here on this superficial level, having these experiences on the on the worldly level where everything seems to be whatever you want it to be. And the running program down below is still going, fuck you, God, I'm out of here. I'm having my own world. Yeah, watch me do this, you know, and I'm the, you know. And then you find those moments. It takes for Jesus to come along and go, hey, Tina, you're denying God. And you're like, not me, Lord.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. It's like, oh, hang on a minute. I find myself seemingly with a body in a world that represents the denial its entirety. Why would I think I'm not in the denial or I'm not in denial? You know, it's crazy. Of
but it
course
was
I must
so
be.
good
I'm here.
because
Yeah.
I'm even like, I'm like Vivian, kind of like, I just want to be a good little student. I'm not that saying that about Vivian, but I want to be a good student. So, okay, when I hear these things, I'm like, okay, I'll just accept it, but not really. And I, you know, and I'm like, because if I did accept it, then I would hear the voice. If I did accept it, then I would wake up.
Though.
You know what I mean?
Right.
But
that's
I'm like,
the whole thing. You ready? Here it is now.
Yes. Okay.
Ready? It's here. There. Now accept it. No, you missed it again.
No, I didn't.
Oh, no, I didn't.
Oh.
Well, that's good. I'm glad you didn't. It's always that. Ready? The next moment, it's in the next moment I have where I don't have a thought. In the next moment that I leave it totally blank and just let the Holy Spirit abide there, boom, it's done. Just takes one instant, one moment of yes, unreserved yes. Doug, you ready? It's the same thing. It's the same moment. There is only one moment. I used to have this CD years ago by this beautiful musician. His name's Tarshito. You can look him up online. He's got an online presence. Tarshito, Tarshito. And I met him at the marketplace in Byron Bay. And he was playing this big wooden flute. And it was beautiful. I could hear it all across the markets. And I went over and I'm standing there and listening to him. And he sold me a CD. I can't remember, maybe he gave it to me, but anyway, I ended up with this CD of his and it was called One Moment. And it went for like 47 minutes. It took me ages to work out what he meant by one moment, you know, like the whole thing. So how everything, because I talked to him about it, you know, years later, he's on Facebook or something. And I wrote to him and I said, bro, I just have to really express my gratitude for that CD, you know, like it really like led to other things and, you know, opened a doorway or planted a seed or something. I think people have been trying to plant seeds for ages and I'm just so oblivious, just so caught up on the, anywho. Well, I'm glad. That's good. All right, let's do a little release, shall we? Anyone up for that? Vinka? Feeling it? Feeling it? You got to kind of feel it. You got to, you know. It's like just because we're in a Zoom meeting doesn't mean it's a ritualistic religious observance that we have to do something. It's like it's just got to kind of flow. We just let it flow. So I don't really have anything. Doug, you want to take the reins? You can unmute and You could hypnotize us all. That would be fun.
It would be fun.
I went to a hypnotist once for things, and it worked. It was incredible. I went there full of doubt, but it was kind of like a last resort. I didn't know any better at the time, or any other kind of modality of healing, or anything. And I went to a hypnotist, and I think I had 3 sessions, and I stopped smoking, and I forget what the other things was. Just anyway, there was a couple of things, personal inhibitions and whatever, and things like that, and it worked. It was like really, really amazing. So, it's where I actually first learnt to meditate in a kind of a, what I would call a successful way, where I got a result that was pleasing, rather than wondering if I'm doing it right. So it was good. Go for it. Take the show, Doug.
Well, I think it would be interesting if we all just close our eyes for a few moments and just let our minds wander and just begin to wonder what's going to happen next. And I certainly know it's easy to reflect upon the things that Dave has already said. And so I invite us all just to breathe and notice your breathing. Notice the position of your body. It's really okay just to begin to unwind now after the day or evening that you had. And wouldn't it be altogether delightful just to let yourself and let your mind begin to wander around and through the things that just come up automatically, the things that are of interest, the things that you perceive, your perspective on things, and even some of the things that you judge. And so just taking a few deep breaths, why don't you go ahead and do that now? I mean, really allow yourself to breathe deeply. And as you notice various changes going on in your body, just let my voice go with you. Because ultimately, it's not important what I have to say. There's really nothing of interest that I'm going to say. These things that have been said over and over and over again. What's really more interesting is your brilliant unconscious mind and the way it operates, the way it thinks, the things that are of interest to you, the things that you're working on, those several things that you're really interested in developing, knowing more about, learning more about. And as you sit, just let your mind wander and take a few more deep breaths. Because we wouldn't be here tonight if there wasn't something we wanted to work on. We wouldn't be listening to Dave talk. We wouldn't invest ourselves in these things if we didn't want to get something out of it. What are those things? What do we want to get out of it? Where does the mind go? What are those one or two things that if we knew more about the things that brought us here, because you know those one or two things that you're interested in, And it really is okay in your mind to think of those things now. It's safe to bring them up. Just bring those things up that brought you here. You know how to do it. We've done it many, many times. It feels like a million times. Would a million times be enough to bring those things up? To be examined, not by how we would examine them consciously. No, certainly not that. Then what are those things and how would we look at them differently? What does it mean to get a different perspective? What does it mean to bring them into the light, to be looked at anew, differently, in a new way? Because it really is okay to let yourself relax even more. I'm going to count from 3 to 1 and just let yourself go even more. 3, follow my voice. 2, on the count of 1, just really let go. Just really sink down into that position and relax your entire body even more. Do it now. 1, just let go. And even as we look at that young child from a long time ago, where he or she had a problem that you just couldn't work out, and he worked on it for years and years and years and years, and he did it the same old way. He went to the same people, saw the same things, did the same things, and kept expecting something different to happen. And even as he repeated the same words, asked the same questions, did the same things, looking for different results. And it really is okay now to notice those things that you brought here tonight and feel it in your body. Let them come into your body now. Bring it in, make it real. This is about you. This is your experience. When I count from 1 to 5, I want you to really bring it in your body. Make it count. Is this important to you? Is this important that you change this? Is this important that you do this in a different way? You can't figure it out. That's why you're here. 1, notice it around you. Which ones would you choose? 2, it's safe for you to do this. You're fully protected. 3, what are those things, those thoughts, those feelings, those ideas that you've been bringing around with you your entire life? 4, bring them closer and closer and closer. Take a nice deep breath. And 5, bring it all the way into your body now. Bring it all the way in and just let it happen now. And the people I've worked with over the years, they've told me in several different ways about how they felt things. And then I would talk to them, they would say, oh yeah, I've kind of felt that way before. Another person would say, oh yeah, that always bothered me. Another person would say, I'm used to it, no big deal. Well, I'm saying to you, is it a big deal? Is it important? And if it is, just allow it, welcome it in, welcome these feelings, these thoughts, these experiences that you want to improve, that you want to work on. Invite them in even more. Go ahead and do it now. Bring it in even more. Take a nice deep breath and bring it right into your body and just notice it. Go ahead and do that now. Just take an inventory on the inside. Let go of the outside world and just right on the inside, notice that internal world. What does it look like? What does it sound like? How does it feel? It's safe now to just be with it. Take a few deep breaths, and you've really got to mean it. This isn't a joke. This isn't a gag. This isn't just something we're doing for the fun of it. This is something that's important to us. How important is it to you? Is it important? Can you make it real? Where is it? I want you to notice a circle right around you. Go ahead and notice it in your imagination. Visualize it, sense it, imagine it. What would it look like, this circle that's right in front of you, this golden circle? And whatever it is you're experiencing, whatever it is you're thinking, these things that have been an issue, these things that have been a problem, the way that you've always done it isn't working. But this golden circle that's in front of you, in a few moments, when you step into it, you're going to bring that in. And I want you to do your best to clear your mind when you get inside of this circle. Clear your mind, let nothing be there. Notice what it's like just to empty yourself of this. This is your chance. You're going to bring those feelings, those thoughts, those emotions, no matter how difficult, no matter how troubling. You're with us now, it's safe. And one more time, I'm going to count from 1 to 3, and you're going to commit yourself. You're going to make a declaration of who you are, what you want. Is this important to you? Get that declaration ready for yourself right now. Feel it in your body. Where is it? Own it. You've been waiting for this chance your entire lifetime. Well, now's your chance. This is it. One, experience the experience that you're experiencing. 2, those things you want to work on or change, those feelings, those emotions, those ideas, those blocks that have been blocking you. I want you to bring those blocks into this circle. Bring those blocks. And as you listen to that sound, that's you getting ready to step in that circle, that golden circle of light. And you're going to step into it and allow the unknown. Allow there to just be a miracle. Who knows what can happen? Who knows if you just let yourself be? Just let yourself walk into that circle, that golden light of circle, and bring that experience, that idea of this miracle taking place, the unknown. We have no idea. Make space for yourself. Make space for this nothingness to occur. Step outside of these roles, these identities that have been plaguing us our entire lives. Are you ready? Are you ready? Take a nice deep breath and step into that healing circle of light. Bring everything there right now. Take a deep breath. 1, 2, 3. Step in that circle now. And I encourage us all just to stay in this state. Just let my voice go with you. And let this state deepen, go deeper. I want you to go deeper. Go deeper even still. It's okay now. It's okay. It's safe to go deeper now. Just let go. Let it happen. And the part of you that wants to go even deeper still, I want you to notice with your eyes closed that there's a hallway. It's fairly well lit and it's safe. My voice will just go with you. And in this hallway, I want you to continue having that dream within a dream. That's the way it feels. And similarly, part of you that's having this experience, let her or him just stay there as you go deeper in that spot we just established. It's kind of fun. It's amusing. It's interesting. The mind enjoys these kinds of things, especially for the purpose to meet that need that you've been wanting to meet. So take a nice cleansing breath and just go deeper in that spot. And in your brilliant unconscious mind, notice that hallway. And about 10 or 11 feet down the hallway, there are two doors. I want you just to look at the two doors. When I count from 3 to 1, I want you just to walk in this dream, where it's safe. You can be relaxed. Also notice those other feelings that came up for you. Those are fine too. But when we walk down that hallway, there's two doors. And you're going to open one of them and just go in and just notice what's there. As you stay in that spot, enjoying the relaxation or just even having whatever experience you're having, I want you to begin to let your body float down that hallway. And when I say 1, you're going to reach out and you're going to open a handle on the door. You're just going to let yourself go in. 3, just leave that place you are, that location that we've established. 2, just let your body float easily and naturally down that hallway. I want you to see the two doors. Who knows what's behind them? Just let your brilliant mind open one of them for you when I say 1. Now reach out, choose one of the doors and go ahead and just float through the door and let that experience happen now. Just let it happen. And in some way, we came here tonight for a miracle. In some way, we came here tonight to be healed. And who knows how that will happen. And some say Holy Spirit is here providing us with exactly what we need with that. So it really is okay as we continue with this relaxation, this guided relaxation, while staying in this state we're in together as a group, one mind, one spirit. Purpose to heal. Because we're ready. It's time. While enjoying this state, if anybody wants to say something, if anybody wants to talk about their experience, it's absolutely fine to gently nudge yourself forward to be able to share with us any experience you're having. If you would like to, might be nice for the group. So let's take a few minutes and begin to come back into our bodies. Begin to come back into the here and now. And just be curious at how these upcoming days ahead, how this experience and the changes that we're looking for in our experience to show themselves. Often they show themselves in just some regular everyday behavior, where all of a sudden that thing, that lesson, that idea, the letting go, just happens in one of our behaviors. All of a sudden, we're just different. Maybe it's something that Dave said finally clicks in. Maybe it's one of the lessons. It just really shows itself, and we let ourselves experience something in a new way. We really see differently. We see things differently. The lessons come through. We're kind of living them. And maybe perhaps giving these concerns that I know and I'm sure you brought here tonight, giving them to Holy Spirit, rather than seeing the dream. Wouldn't it be nice? Wouldn't it be altogether lovely if Holy Spirit would just immediately come and remove that doubt, remove that fear, and bless us with this forgiveness, bless us with that miracle where we just pass through it. We just go right through what used to be a block, what was holding us back emotionally, mentally. And we're with that divine spirit guiding us. We see the truth of the divine spirit, the reality of the divine spirit, reality of Holy Spirit, the Word of God guiding us easily and effortlessly. It just happens. Wouldn't that be, well, gee, wouldn't that be lovely? Wouldn't that be a miracle? And so you can just begin to slowly open your eyes. Come back. And just as I said, looking forward this week to the results of this fun little daydream, this fun experience, this interesting excursion. Just wondering how it will show itself up for you individually, meeting the needs that you came here to meet tonight. Who knows how it will show up? And if anybody wants to share any part of their experience, that would be quite lovely. If not, that's okay too. Anybody like to share?
Wow, Doug. That was really powerful.
Who said that?
Kathleen.
Oh, nice. Oh, there you are. My phone was turned so I couldn't see. Yes. What did you, was that a good experience for you?
It was a great experience. It just went really deep. I didn't want to come back. I just wanted to keep going.
Right. Yes.
Yeah, it was a little unexpected. I just kind of dropped right in, so it was really beautiful. Thank you.
Oh, it's my pleasure. It was interesting and lovely that Dave would suggest that, and I had no idea, and I'm glad that you got something out of it, Bethlehem.
That was really powerful. I needed that. Felt really healing.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Oh, it's my absolute pleasure.
All I got is a lot of gratitude right now.
Isn't that wonderful, that feeling of gratitude?
Yes.
I love that feeling. What about you, Tina? You want to say anything?
I kind of don't. You know what I mean?
What did you say? I didn't hear you.
I kind of don't, if you know what I mean. I just
Yeah.
feel really.
Absolutely.
But I am. I will. It's really powerful. I just feel really still. But there's an uprising of gratitude that also wants to be expressed.
I feel very honored, very, very honored and humbled to be a part of this group in this way. So I want to thank you for going along with me and trusting me and having an experience. It's I value you, and I'm glad that you could make the best of this, each one of you. And what about you, Vinka? Do you want to say anything?
I'm not sure if you can hear me. My phone is running flat.
I can hear. I can hear.
Yeah, very good. I had a lot of energy come through, and I sort of did the same as Tina. I just zoned right out, and it took me a while to actually come back. It was very peaceful.
I know. Yes.
Thank you very much. So let's see how the energy travels this week. Will be interesting. That'll be great. Thank you very much.
Yes. What's wonderful about this, Dave suggested it. I honor and trust Dave, so of course I want to do my part. This role, this dream of being a helper, as I mentioned, is a role that I carried around for a long time. What's fun for me with this kind of dream is that as the days go on, those kinds of things that you came here to get or change or to understand seem to naturally develop and unfold in new and surprising ways, because like the Course says, you cannot solve a problem on the level that the problem was created. And this is obviously the ego trying to solve the puzzles that was created by the ego. So when we try to fix them on that level, we wouldn't be at this meeting tonight if we were to understand fully that it just doesn't work. Or let me say, we have to be constantly reminded that it just doesn't work. So this unconscious, which now I realize is really the unconscious, where there's just nothing going on, where it's empty space, where it's totally peaceful, where we have no idea, where we're just floating, and with Dave's circle of light, where often, and I was kind of thinking I was going to have, a deeper emotional kind of release tonight with Dave, and find that this happened as well. My point is that when we enter that circle, when we are fully involved with first experiencing concern, issue, emotion, and then when we get up into that empty space, it's that giving up, giving away, and trusting the emptiness where the answers come. And they cannot be deciphered at the moment. They shouldn't be. We should not try to, I'm paraphrasing the course now, I'm paraphrasing David, don't analyze it, like, I don't know what happened. Good. We finally don't know what happened. Excellent. I have no idea. Did it work? Didn't it work? Good. It was nothing. Nothing happened. Excellent. And just continue this upcoming week in your life, in your experiences, and notice the little changes that happen.
Blessing. Thank you.
Bless you. Thank you, Dave. I mean, Doug. I mean, all of you.
Yes, I know.
Just one of us here.
Exactly. So I guess Dave took off, which is wonderful. Thank you. Thank you much. And
do that again sometime.
Yes, well, I enjoy it very much.
Well, I'm going to say goodnight.
Yes, absolutely. Love to all of you.
Love you all very much.
Love you. Good night, everybody. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thanks again.
Love you.
Love you too.
Vivian, you still there? Bye, Bethleen. Love you. See you soon.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you, Bethleen. Thank you, Tina.
Thank you, Doug. Love you.
Love you.
Beautiful.
Love you, Tina. Enjoy your night.
How could I not?
I'll see you.
All right.
Okay.